The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Tukwila, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32592. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Let's start at the front bumper. On the front bumper extension on the outer edges is where you'll find your PA and siren speakers. Moving just inward of that location on the passenger side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Located just off the frame rails, you'll find your 2 attachments for tow hooks. Moving over to the driver's side front bumper face is where you'll find dual air horns. You also have side indicating emergency lights on the bumper extension. Moving up to the body, turn indicators located on the right and left. Headlight cluster, high beam will be on the intersection. Moving just inward of that, inside the grille area, you'll find emergency warning lights. Moving up under the Pierce logo is where you'll find the release mechanism for your hood. On the outer edges, you're going to find emergency warning lights. Let's move up onto the windshield. Seamless one-piece windshield is where you'll find 3 windshield wipers. Out to the outer edges is where you'll find your dual mirror, indicating that you have a flat and convex mirror. Moving up to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving up onto the top of the vehicle roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located inside the light bar in the center is where you'll find your Opticom. Just above the Opticom light bar area is where you'll find your go light. This is controlled from inside the cab. Here are some close-ups of those images that we just talked about: headlight cluster and turn indicator. Moving just inside the grille area, the strip of emergency warning lights. And then once again, to release the hood, just behind the Pierce logo, reach inside is where you'll find the latch. Let's move now to the driver's door area. First, on the bumper extension, side-facing emergency warning light. Moving up from that location onto the body is where you'll find a side-facing camera. And then your vehicle is also equipped with door latches and also keyed entry. Let's move up to the very top. This is the very rear section of your apparatus in the cab. This is your water tank level indicator. On the back wall, you'll find a pole floodlight, directional. Let's move down to the pump area. First, we'll start in the upper left-hand corner. This is your inverter plug. Moving to the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding not to mix different foam consistencies or types of foams due to foam failure. Further to the right, you'll find your auxiliary foam operations. And then moving further to the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding pressurized hazards and the associated hazard while removing a cap under pressure. Moving further to the right, you'll find your driver's main inlet override. And then all the way to the very far right side of the image is where you'll find your air supply, and then just beneath that, the outlet for your air supply. Let's move down to the left, where we're going to find 2 2.5-inch discharges. In this image, you'll find there are overrides because both of these are electronic valve controlled. Moving to the center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. Moving further to the right, you're going to find a warning label here that you should not ride on the side of the apparatus while it's in motion. Moving further down, you'll find your manifold drain. And then just to the right here, you're going to find your warm water rinse functions. This is the inlet and outlet on your far right. And then across the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled drains for this side of the pump panel. Let's take a look at some close-ups of the things we just talked about. First, starting with your auxiliary foam function. This is also your foam inlet, foam strainer, and also foam drain. Moving to the right, in the upper corner, you'll find the driver's main inlet override, and then all of your air supply. This is your 2.5-inch discharges with overrides. And then as we look to the very bottom, this is the warm water rinse. This is the inlet and also the outlet. Let's go ahead and move just up from this location where you'll find your crosslays. First, let's start on the left-hand side lower section. This is going to be a backboard storage location. Moving to the right, you'll find your 2 crosslays. They are color-coded and also labeled. In between the 2 crosslays, you'll find this release mechanism to allow you to pull the speed load out of its location. And further to the right, because of those hoses coming out, there is a warning label here regarding entanglement. Moving up from this location, almost identical, we have 2 crosslay discharges located here, and then also a release mechanism for those speed loads. And then on the right hand side is where you'll find backboard storage location. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the pump panel. We'll start at the very top in the center, and we'll identify the items within this area. First, if you've engaged your pump properly after exiting the cab, the pump engage light will be illuminating. On the left-hand side, we have some system operation instructions for your Husky 12 foam system. And then also in the red module, this is your foam level for tank A. To the right in the gray area, we're going to find your master intake gauge. And to the right, you'll find your master discharge. These are the 2 master gauges on your pump panel. Located down at the very bottom of this image, you'll find your test gauge ports for the vacuum and pressure. And then moving to the right, you'll find it, if lit, which it currently is, an amber indicator for your PCM fault. Just below that, you'll find an audible alarm. The outer edge of the bezel does allow you to dampen the sound. Let's take a quick look. These are going to be your discharges here, color-coded and labeled. As you can see, all of these have water foam capability. Let's move just to the right of this location. This is your pressure throttle governor. If illuminated, it would be in yellow, would be a check engine. Located in the center, you'll find a digital readout for your RPMs. If illuminated, it would be in red, and that would be a stop engine. Just beneath that, you're going to find all of your engine diagnostic information. As we move further down to the left in the same module, there's the blue module here indicating your water tank level indicator. And then to the right, you'll find 2 buttons. First, the orange and red. Red is the silence button for the audible alarm, and the orange is your menu button to allow you to scroll through the various menu functions. As we move down, you'll find 2 indicators, either pressure control or RPM, which is throttle control. Located in the center, you'll find the digital readout. You can select either one of those. That's by selecting through the blue button, which is your control module. Located in the center, you'll also get a throttle ready indicator, which will be green. And then moving to the right, you'll find the preset. If you program presets in advance, you'll be able to access the presets through this green button. Moving down to the lower section is where you're going to find your throttle. It does have a push in the center to return to idle. Let's go ahead and move down now to the next set of images. First, on the left-hand side, you're going to find this scheduled maintenance. This is for 150, 200, and 250 psi test pressures. Just beneath that, you'll find that only trained personnel should operate this equipment. That's a warning label after you've properly been trained and read the owner's manual. Down the lower section, this is going to be your master stream device control. And then we do have 6 total electronic gauges located here. First, there are 3 on the left-hand side, clearly labeled, and then 3 on the right-hand side of this image. All the way to the right, you're going to find your driver's rear discharge. And here's a couple close-ups of those things we just talked about. First, let's start with the primer. This is the priming instructions just beneath that you should have at least 1,000 RPMs prior to engaging the primer. Let's go ahead and look further down. Tank refill recirculating line on the far left-hand side. And then as we mentioned earlier, your deluge discharge. You do have some electronic valves here, driver's main inlet and passenger main inlet. Taking a look down at the lower section here, we've got a variety of different things. Let's cover these starting on the left-hand side. This is your warm water pump on and off. This is for warm water rinse. You do have the options here of either 12-volt heater or a 120-volt heater. That's the 2 selections there. And then to the right, your primer drain. All of the next set of things are going to be clearly labeled. These are all of your drains associated with all of your discharges. Let's move to the right where the pan door opens here on the right. You're going to find in the very back this yellow handle. It coincides on the left-hand side with the instructions on the door. This is regarding foam operations for fill.
As we move just inside the compartment, you'll find the protected manual pump shift. That is the red switch, and also an amber indicator once it's been activated. On the left-hand side of the panel here, you're going to find your swine power. This is your inverter. And then we have a variety of switches here, clearly color-coded. At the very bottom, you'll find in red your air horn. This is your foam module for your Husky 12 system. As we move to the exterior, you'll find 2 bottle storage locations for your SCBA. Moving just to the rear of the rear tire, you'll find a single bottle storage. It does have a retaining strap. You do have a DEF tank level indicator located in the gauge here. We're currently revealing the silver cap, which is your ultra low sulfur diesel fuel, and also a cap holder on the right. As we move that flap downward, it will cover the silver cap, which is allows you to access the DEF, which is the blue cap, and that is a 4.5 US gallon tank. Let's move down to the middle compartment. This is directly over the rear wheel. You'll find a D handle, allow you to gain access to the back side of your tool storage. Once it's open, on the hinge side, there is a release mechanism. Your vehicle is equipped with a recirculating system for air. That's the tube at the very top. As we move to the very back compartment, I'd like to point out to the left-hand side where the arrow is, this is your shoreline outlet. This is a 15 amp, and that's the blue plug. As we move just underneath this compartment, you'll find 2 folding wheel chocks. The release is on the left-hand side. Here's a quick image of the rear section of your apparatus. Let's cover some of the items here, first starting with the common brake, turn, and also emergency light and backup light. Just above that, you're going to find a auto eject 30 amp plug. When plugged into shore power, this will activate, indicating that you are actively charging your battery systems on your vehicle. Moving up, there are also emergency lights recessed into the panel, and then all the way up at the very top, you'll find your work lights. Located just to the right is where you're going to find the discharge. This is the rear discharge. As we move down, I'd like to point out a couple of warning labels here. One, riding on the back of the apparatus. That's a warning label for that. And there's also some pressurized cap warnings. In the center is where you'll find your backup camera. And at the very top, you'll find your traffic advisor. Let's move down to the right-hand side of the image. This is going to be your powered equipment rack. That's the control for that. Moving upward, you're going to find a large diameter intake. This is a rear intake. And then just above that, you'll find this pan door. Behind that is where you're going to find all of your overrides for your hydraulic ladder system. Here's a close-up of that 30 amp auto eject shoreline inlet, and then the battery voltage on the left-hand side, and then also a rear scene light. Those are the 2 lights at the very top. As we look to the rear, you'll find your hose bed dividers. As we look to the very bottom, this is with the tailboard in the open position. You'll find 2 release mechanisms to allow that pull-out shelf to completely extend. This is your powered equipment rack. We do have raise and lower instructions on it. Large diameter discharge here in the rear. And then just inside the pan door is where you're going to find your hand operations if you have some sort of mechanical failure for your ladder rack. At the very back section, which would be the front of your apparatus, you'll find the foam fill location, and then also you'll find additional long tool storage in the upper right hand side. Quick shot of the rear section of your apparatus. Let's move up on top where you'll find these yellow diamonds indicating the edge for firefighter safety. You also have additional compartments up on the top which have dry deck material and also LED lighting. As we move through some of the items here, we'll identify your water tank. It does have top access fill. As we spin around here also into the dunnage area, we'll find your items here that will identify first your booster line. You'll also find your master stream device. It does have electronic controls at the device and also back down at the pump panel. On your booster reel on the left-hand side, this is in case you have some sort of motor failure. There is a rewind. It does require a tool, and then also you have a tensioning ability. As we move to the back, this is going to be your hydraulic for your foam pump. And then we also have some warning labels here regarding this is not a walking surface. That's what these warning labels are for. You do have a 24-foot extension and a 14-foot roof. As we move around to the right side of the truck, you can see this is your large diameter discharge coming out here. We're now to the rear section. You'll find SCBA bottle storage location to the rear and front of the rear tire. As we move to the center compartment directly above those, you'll find once again dry deck material and also adjustable shelving and LED lighting. Moving now to the very front compartment is where you'll find the S1, which stands for shore power. That's the breaker box. This is going to be that inverter we talked about earlier, 1800 watts. And then just beneath that, you'll find the timing mechanism for your ventilation system through all of your compartments. This is the timer itself. It's a wheel timer. It does have specific on settings, and then also you can see in the black there the off setting, and you can set those up to your specific needs. As we now move to the pump area, I'd like to remind you, a warning here, not to ride on the side of the apparatus. We'll move now to the right where you'll find your water strainer. Moving further to the right, we're going to find, because we have an electronic valve, this is the override for that electric valve. We do have an additional warning label here regarding pressurized hazards. Be cautious while removing caps under pressure. And then further to the right, you'll find an inverter outlet. As we move down, we're going to find two 2.5-inch discharges on this side. These are both electronically controlled discharges, and because of that, there are overrides located right next to them. Let's move further down in the image where you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a female inlet. And then down at the very bottom is where you're going to find all your color-coded and labeled drains. Let's go through some close-ups here real quick. First, your water strainer. Up at the very top, we're going to find the override for the passenger main inlet, and then also your inverter outlets. Down at the very bottom, water strainer drain and also inlet drain. 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, and as we move to the very far right, all your associated color-coded drains. Let's go back now, just up from this location. We're going to find a warning label here. This is the Crosslay area entanglement hazard because of those hoses coming off. There are two lower section pre-connects located here, and there is a release mechanism to release those speed loads for the actual channel. Also on the far right hand side, same image here is the opposite. We're going to have a backboard storage as we move up to the next section up, identical as the driver's side. Let's move inside the cab now. As we move into a cab area for personnel, we have these warning labels at the entry points for all personnel. As we look inside the cab, I'd like to identify a few items here. First, on your door, you can see the door light and then also the Engine 51 reflective tape. Inside, we have two forward-facing seats on the back wall with SCBAs located within inside. There are box lights located also on the back wall. As we look overhead, you'll find push on and off red and white lights, and then also an overhead light. As we move to the two compartments in the front, you'll find adjustable shelving, dry deck material, and also LED lighting. As we move to the center, you'll find a center location compartment on the D handle, which will allow you to gain access. Once again, dry deck material inside. Just underneath that is where you're going to find the location for your daily checks for your transmission and also oil. As we move just under the pedestal of each of those seats on the right and left side, you'll find a USB plug-in, and then you'll also find, set on an angle, additional SCBA and box light. Just a quick look from the rear section looking forward out the vehicle. Let's now move to the passenger or officer's location. First, a point of entry for firefighters. We have those warning labels. I'd also like to warn you that this vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag, and that you should see the owner's manual prior to mounting any equipment within this area. Moving up onto the top, you'll find 12-volt access USB on the left-hand side. Let's now move to the dash area where you'll find your air horn, mechanical siren, and siren brake push buttons. Moving just further beyond that toward the center section is where you're going to find, this is driver's dash, is where you're going to find the box light. As you move toward the center, you'll find your MDT. Directly behind that MDT, you'll find a set of switches. These switches are going to be your front flood, driver's side scene, and passenger side scene, and also rear scene. The lower section down gives you the opportunity to engage the perimeter lights. driver's side flood and passenger side flood, and then also control the emergency master for your emergency lights. You do have barrel style and also USB plugs, and then just forward of this location is your vehicle data recorder port. Let's look overhead. This is just next to the piano hinge on the door. This is your go light control for over the vehicle. You also have your unit radio. There's also a placard here, which I'll discuss a little later on regarding the vehicle dimensions. You have your Whelen siren generator and also PA. You also have a AM/FM broadband radio. And then as we look overhead in the center section, we'll talk about some of the items here. Let's move now to the driver's area, a point of entry. So we have those warning labels on the left-hand side. And then as we move down to the lower about the right ankle, we'll find some additional warning labels here. But the information I'd like to point out first is in this yellow placard, which is kind of hidden here. So let's take a look at that now. This is your manufactured by Pierce for the city of Tukwila. It has the date of manufacture, the job number, which is your 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, the VIN number. It also has all of your fluid capacities for the components and fluid types. Let's move now to the door area of entry. This is going to be your engine heater. There's a switch with an indicator when it's on. At about the left foot, you'll find your mechanical siren on the floor. And about the left knee area of the operator, you'll find your tech module. These are your diagnostic ports. You'll also find the green, which is your engine, transmission, ABS diagnostic port. And then to the far right, you'll find your display port. There are a set of 4 switches down at the lower section. First, the 2 top switches are going to be ABS diagnostics and engine diagnostics. The 2 lower buttons are going to be your regen inhibit and DPF regen. Let's go ahead and move to the dash now. Left-hand side of the dash, as you enter the cab, you're going to find your hazard lights. Just down from that, you're going to find your ignition and start switch. Moving to the right, you'll find EM, which stands for Emergency Master. You have your headlights and parking lights, and then also you have a panel switch here, which allows you to dim or brighten the panel lights. Let's start on the left in the panel with your transmission oil DEF level and water temperature. Located in the center, tachometer and speedometer. To the right, you're going to find volts, fuel, front and rear air, and then you have informational diagnostics will appear above and below the speedometers. To the right of the column is the high idle engage indicator and on-off switch. As we move, just a quick look at the dash here, we'll start on the far left-hand side with your system parking brake, pull to apply, push to release. To the right, you'll find your Pierce command zone. Tremendous amount of information here right at your fingertips. Please see your owner's manual for more information. To the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with information here regarding to pump in neutral. And then as we move further to the right, we're going to find those same controls here: front flood, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene. Next level down, we're going to find the backup alarm override, driver's side and passenger side floods. When those lights or when the switch has actually been engaged, the outer edge will illuminate in green. We do have some additional switches here for your engine brake on and off, a settings switch for that engine brake, whether it be low, medium, or high. In red, a fuel primer. To the right, you can see the do not remove tape here. This is your tire chains, off-road traction, and your mirror heat. Down the next section, we're going to find a stationary OK to pump and roll. We do have your water pump and foam system switches. And then all the way to the right is going to be those overhead lights. Just above that, you'll find the control for that go light, which is located over the light bar. And at the very top of that, you'll find mirror controls for left and right mirror. Climate control located in the very center, heat, air conditioning, and also defrost. Let's look overhead first with this placard, same as it is on the passenger side. Your height 11 feet 3 inches, length 31 feet 9.56 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating of 46,500 pounds. It also has your job number 32592. Let's move to the right for a set of switches here. In red, Emergency Master. You have a high beam flash and your Opticom, and to the right in red, Siren Brake. As we move down, you'll find the dome lights, auto lube fault, momentary opticom, and perimeter lights. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your traffic advisor. All the way further to the right, you'll find your unit Motorola radio. You do have a pump pressure, which is a digital readout, and also a water tank level indicator. I would like to point this out. This is a flashing alarm indicating that you have an open door or a compartment ajar. Congratulations, Tukwila, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32592. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire Sales Representative. Thank you and congratulations.